So, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Remote Work Wednesday on behalf of the Remote Online Initiative and the K-State Extension Community Vitality Team. You want to advance the slide, Jamie? I'm Ron Wilson, Director of the Huck Boyd Institute for Rural Development with K-State Extension Community Vitality. Thanks to Jamie Menon, our state specialist in community vitality for the K-State Extension team, who's running our technology today. This If you go to the next slide, please. This is a project of the Remote Online Initiative. And the website, as you see, is kansasremotework.com. It's through that website, our program offers month-long online classes, enable participants to become trained and certified as a remote worker or a remote work team leader. And that has led us to have these calls, Remote Work Wednesday, free Zoom call on the second Wednesday of each month for anyone interested in remote work. If you go to the next slide, I'll call your attention that on April 8th will be our next one, April 8th, second Wednesday of April, 12 noon Central Time. Our speaker is Debbie Rathod, who is an engineer with Eaton who is working hybrid and is going to address the challenges, opportunities of working remotely. And if you're like me, what I'm observing is more and more hybrid work compared to full-fledged remote work. The goal of these calls is simply to learn about the opportunities and challenges of remote and hybrid work for those who choose to use it. And for our next slide, we're excited about today's speaker. Catherine Wolgamuth is Director of Client Success for MakeMyMove. She is going to talk about talent attraction for rural Kansas, which is a huge priority for us, recruiting remote and in-person workers. And we look forward to her telling us about MakeMyMove and about the Home in the Heartland grant, which is a really terrific opportunity for Kansas. So with that, we'll pause these slides, and Catherine, we look forward to your presentation.
Awesome. Thank you, Ron and Jamie, for having MakeMyMove. Let me know if you can't see my slides, but we've
Looks good.
prepped.
Looks
Perfect.
good.
Awesome. Off to a good start. We have prepped a couple slides today to guide conversation. And before I get into that, thank you for the introduction. As Ron said, I'm MakeMyMove's Director of Client Success. And what that means is I work with our partners all around the country to help them build these talent attraction programs in an effort to attract new population families to their community. So, to get into our agenda for today, we wanted to spend some time talking about, first of all, what is MakeMyMove? What do we do? How does it work? Our work specifically in Kansas. We've had a presence in Kansas since 2022, starting our work with Lincoln County and Kelly Gurley and her team all the way till now, and the support from the state with the Home in the Heartland grant. So we'll spend some time talking about that. As well as our results in the state. So the state is investing in this, the locals are investing in this. What has the output been so far? So MakeMyMove is a platform that makes it easy for communities to grow by recruiting talented people and their families. Over 1 million people visit MakeMyMove each year looking for a new place to call home. And so we work with these communities. There's two sides of our marketplace. There's the communities that are interested in growing and attracting new talent, filling vacancies at local employers, bringing remote workers into their community to spend and invest in that local economy. And the other side of our marketplace is the movers, the people that are interested in finding a new place to live. We call them geographic free agents, and these people could look like a lot of different personas. They could be a remote worker, where really since 2020, for the first time ever, that tie between where we work and where we live was severed. You could work in Silicon Valley or in Austin, Texas, but you don't have to pay the cost of living there anymore. So these remote workers are looking for a higher quality of life and a lower cost of living. We could be talking about people that are just looking for a new job in addition to looking for a new community. We see a lot of like nurses, teachers, police officers, advanced manufacturing, people coming to make my move, looking to make a move. Um, New grads, entrepreneurs, and founders. There's all sorts of people that are looking to make a change that visit Make My Move. And our role is connecting those individuals, those movers, with the places that are incentivizing their relocation. So that is sort of Make My Move in a nutshell. To get into, okay, how do we actually do this? They're the two sides of the marketplace. How do we bring them together and turn just browsers on our website into new neighbors? So we'll start with attract. The first part of this is like bringing that geographic free agent audience to our site. We do that through a variety of ways. Search marketing, uh, paid search. So we have a handful of key search terms. For example, if somebody types into Google or their search engine any sort of like move to place or relocating here, um, our Make My Move options can show up towards the top. Paid social, this means we are regularly running ads across Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, trying to get the word out about that Make My Move exists, that these programs exist. Are you seeking something more where you currently live? You might find it on Make My Move. In addition to those more paid channels, we also rely heavily on organic paths as well. So press, earned media. You mentioned earlier, Ron, that there was a story that just ran this, shout out to Amanda, who I see on the call as well, in Riley County about how their program has had some success so far, already relocating a handful of houses when we're not even into move season yet. And there was a press release put out about that. And that just helps kind of keep the flywheel spinning. The more people hear about this and getting excited about it, the more people move, the more fun stories there are to tell, and the flywheel spins. So those are some of the core ways that we drive people to Make My Move is again, those ads, search, earned media, press, movers sharing their stories. Again, just bringing that audience to Make My Move and filling the top of the funnel. Promote. So, okay, we've gotten people to Make My Move. Now, what are we showing them on the site? What are we merchandising? This is where promote comes in, where we're telling a unique story, a unique positioning for each one of our partners. So we'll build some of this story by gathering photos, videos, testimonials of people that have already moved, local spotlights, businesses that are contributing to the incentive package, cost of living comparisons, all to help tell a story about what could life be like for you if you relocated to this space? How much further could your dollar go? What neighbors might you meet? What incentives might you be able to take advantage of? So this is a screenshot you'll see here of one of our partners, Eastern Kentucky, just a couple grabs from their presence on our site. We're aggregating testimonials, stories of people that have relocated. Again, you can see how much further their dollar goes. This is just one piece of the puzzle of what we call a microsite, which is really sort of your whole community's presence on Make My Move. So we gather a lot of detailed user preferences information about like what kind of places is our audience looking to move? Are they looking for rural life, city living life? Do they like to volunteer? How do they like to spend their free time? How do they like to spend their money? And based on this sort of robust profile that we build of our users, we can furnish them with the communities that we think might work best for their interests, which we're doing through, again, building this unique presence for our partners on the site. So that's where promote comes in is getting these awesome communities in front of the people that would be most interested in them. Engage, this is sort of the epicenter of the whole process. So somebody has seen an ad for Make My Move on their social media, let's say. They come to the site, they've browsed the available options, and they've decided, I want to move to this place because this would fit my lifestyle. I'm interested in the incentives that they've put together. I'm going to apply. Once they've applied, they will show up in what is called our Mover Recruitment Studio. There's a screenshot of it here. This is essentially the tool that helps our communities engage with their interested applicants. There's all sorts of rich data here around like income, employment, household size, what kind of housing are they looking for when they move. And there's a lot of robust automation and proprietary playbooks in this tool set that allow us, in conjunction with our partners, to engage this audience, ensure that they qualify for the program, and progress them accordingly. This is where it's probably worthwhile to discuss how not just like anybody that has interest can move to these communities through these programs. Often they need to be already living outside of the place that they're relocating to. They need to have a specific income threshold. They need to either bring their job with them when they relocate, so they're a remote worker, or they're going to find a new job in their community when they've relocated. So we're looking to kind of check off some of these core boxes of eligibility and confirm that that's true. That's what the Make My Move team does. And our community partner has the opportunity to dovetail that more process-oriented engagement with the fun, like, let me tell you why I love where I live and help you understand why you should live here too portion of the work. So there's a lot of activity that happens in this mover recruitment studio, but it's guided by a robust set of automation that tells all of the players what needs to happen for who and by when. So we spend a lot of time working with our partners in this tool set to make sure that the applicants can progress accordingly. Shifting into move. So this is really the second to last piece of the puzzle for the applicant side. So we're connecting through that mover recruitment studio applicants with the places they're interested in moving to. Really, our North Star, our slogan, we say this all the time of this work, is people will move to the places that they feel wanted, and they'll stay in the places that they feel connected to. So, how can we, while someone's sussing out their options, help build that sense of connection before they've even decided to make the move? There's a this picture is from Lincoln County. I'll touch on that in a second, but I'll highlight Kelly Gurley's work here for a minute. She's done an exceptional job of, hey, she has an applicant that has 4 kids and the school system really matters. She has coordinated direct meetings with, okay, the school system matters. I'm going to connect you with our superintendent so you can learn like all about who we are and what we do and know that your child's going to be well taken care of. That applicant was hook, line, and sinker after that. It's like, I've been connected with the superintendent. I'm going to move there. So that is this really important part of getting the mover over that last mile to actually selecting the community and relocating. And I'll call out this picture here is upon relocation, this is really the last step is like, okay, we've put together this packaging to help attract this individual. Now they've arrived and you want to make sure you deliver on what was promised. So part of the incentive package in Lincoln was the high school football team is going to help you unload your moving truck. So this is a picture of high school football players in Lincoln County, yeah, unloading this individual's truck. She drove all the way from Tennessee with her family, pulled up to her house in Lincoln, and didn't have to worry about coordinating movers or anything. They were there to help her. Including, you can even see in the background here, moving her washer and dryer. Like that is no joke. So talk about rolling out the welcome wagon. That's a great way to ensure that, you've done the work to get the mover to relocate. Now we want to do the work to get them to stay. And so this is a great example of that effort in action. The last thing I'll point out, really with the Make My Move platform is we're all about measuring the results and the data. We want to ensure that we're being a good steward of our partners' dollars and, as we'll talk here shortly, the state's dollars. And so we want to show every iota of results that we can associated with that investment. So part of the Mover Recruitment Studio is we have a suite of real-time dashboarding that keeps track of what is the economic impact of these people moving to your community. What's their age? Do they have a prior connection? What's the adults versus children breakdown? Where are they moving from? What kind of housing did they buy or rent? Like, really any question that you or your stakeholders might ask, you can answer with real-time updating data on the mover in the Mover Recruitment Studio. I'll mention here with this economic impact portion, to calculate that, we leverage InPlan, which is one of the two most commonly accepted input-output models for this exact kind of modeling work. So we are putting into the model what is the household income of the household relocating and where are they relocating to? And that model spits out what their consumer spending will be, what their tax contribution is, so that we can say this household represents this sort of impact to your community. It also takes into account local jobs created. If there's an influx of people to a place, we need more infrastructure to support those people, like, more people to cut hair, more people at the restaurants, more. So that brings in even more local hiring opportunities. All of that is monitorable and trackable in the Mover Recruitment Studio. Um, so that is Make My Move in a nutshell. Um, I think I remember Ron said there would be questions at the end, but if there's any questions while I'm going, please feel free to hop in. Um, so that is what Make My Move does, how it works, how we partner with our communities. To talk a little bit more specifically about the application of our work in Kansas, actually, we'll talk a little bit about our mover profile first. Apologies. Um, so we've helped over 4,000 people relocate since 2021. And we've started to build a pretty robust profile of what these movers look like. These are a couple key demographic stats, their average household income, what percent of them are bringing a partner or a spouse, their household size, college education level, as well as um, what job sectors they occupy, their retention rate, and then the percent of those relocating partners, what percent of them can take a local job in the community as well. So we have a robust data set on these mover archetypes that relocate through our programs, and we'll see here momentarily how the Kansas relocations compare to this persona as well. So shifting to our work in Kansas. So we started off with Kelly Gurley, who I've mentioned here a couple times, a pilot program in Lincoln back in 2022. The goal of that was to see, can we move 5 households to rural Kansas in 2 years? We ended up fulfilling that contract in around a year and a half, and pretty quickly shifting into an expansion opportunity, which I'll talk about momentarily. But there were 5 households relocated, which consisted of 11 people. All of them were remote workers. We'll touch on that in a second as well. But for some context, when Make My Move started, largely our audience and the people moving through our platform were remote workers, people that would relocate and bring their job with them. As we've existed longer and longer, we've seen that audience expand to include people looking to move and take a job in the community they move to. So we call those in-person workers. That audience has grown so much so that it now makes up about half of our total site traffic. So you'll notice back in 22, we weren't yet serving that audience to the full extent. So all of these movers were remote workers. You'll see on the final slides here, actually a majority of our movers to the program supported by the Home in the Heartland grant are in-person workers. So we've seen a lot of appeal to that audience for Kansas specifically. Robust household income. None of these movers had a prior connection to Lincoln County at all. They didn't have family there. They didn't go to school in the area, so totally net new. And these were the states that they moved from. I wanted to highlight in particular, I've mentioned a couple times the sort of program building, incentive building component of this work is really critical. Again, people will move to the places that they feel wanted, and we don't want this program to just be a list of coupons and tickets that people can pick up and then kind of passively engage with. The idea is that this programming serves as a true on-ramp into the community, an opportunity to meet your neighbors, to get acclimated and familiar with the local businesses and the who's who. And so in Kelly's first program, she did a really great job of that. They had a welcome potluck dinner. So once all of their movers arrived, she hosted and some other locals hosted this potluck dinner where it was a bunch of people in the community, local leaders, citizens that were excited about the program, and all of the movers had this potluck. She also did a dozen farm fresh eggs every month for a year. And I talked earlier on about how important earned media and press is. press folks really ate that up. There was a lot of earned media about the eggs component because this was also right during the time when eggs were at like an all-time high. So it's like move to Lincoln County and you can actually get eggs for free and they'll be farm fresh. Um, so she did a really great job of capturing like here's some things unique to us and unique to Kansas that you'll be able to take advantage of, as well as we're going to make sure that you don't move to this place and feel isolated. We're going to plug you in. And so kudos to her. They had a great pilot program. Success there allowed us to expand the program with the Innovation Center. The Innovation Center serves 26 counties in Northwest Kansas, and was sort of an expansion on that Lincoln County pilot. And so we worked with them over the course of 2 years and recruited 25 households and 56 total people. Right towards the end of that program is when our audience started to grow more and more with that in-person worker. So you start to see some of that segue here with 17 of their 25 households being remote workers and the other eight taking local jobs when they relocated. Average household income and the top states people relocated from. Yeah, this was a great program. A lot of wonderful stakeholders in that corner of the state that allowed us to kind of parlay into the support from the state treasurer's office. So I'll cover this and then we'll pivot to talking about the results of that program. My colleague Peter's on the line as well, so feel free to hop in here at all, Peter, as I know you've worked closely with the treasurer's office. So um, the state treasurer's office rolled out what they're calling the Home in the Heartland grant. The idea is that communities can leverage grant funds to help them make this talent attraction and retention work more attainable. These grant funds can help cover the costs of programming. So I'll go back to this slide here. Like a lot of this stuff carries a cost. Kelly's offering $5,000 cash for relocation and a membership at a gym. There's a lot of things here. The funds from the state can help cover the costs of these incentives of having local staff to help run the program and engage with applicants, as well as the marketing and fulfillment services support, which is in a lot of cases is we are the partner doing that sort of fulfillment and marketing work. So the state basically said, you're eager to attract talent and you have a plan, we'll help subsidize the cost of that. And then in turn, the communities provide that local support to recruit and retain the talent. The details of that structure down here in a couple bullets at the bottom. So 80% of the total program costs is covered by the state in this Home in the Heartland grant. The other 20% is covered by local investment. Each community had the opportunity to obtain up to $250,000 of those overall grant funds. And how the funds are dispersed is upon the grant winners being selected, 50% of that funding was provided upon execution of that grant agreement, and the other 50% of that funding is provided once a community reaches the halfway point of their mover goal. So let's say, for example, that the community has a goal of recruiting 10 households, and let's say, just say the program cost is $100,000. They'll get 50% of that from the state up front, and then once they've hit five, so half of their 10 mover goal, they'll get the other $50,000 from the state's portion of the grant. Do you want to add anything to that, Peter? I think I covered most of it.
Yeah, you great job, Catherine. Yeah, there's 12 communities across Kansas utilizing this fund, and the next round of grant applications opens on July 1st for next year. Um, yeah, we're excited about that as well.
Great. So talking specifically about Make My Move in Kansas with the Home in the Heartland grant. So I'll have an image here shortly, but There are 12 total communities accessing the Home in the Heartland grant funds. 11 of them have partnered with Make My Move. And to date, we really got started in fall 2025. So it's been about 6 months. Those programs have relocated 13 households and 34 people to date. So again, harkening back to that sort of remote versus in-person split. Of those 13 households, three have been remote workers, 10 have been in-person workers. Um, Movers have come from 11 states, with three of them coming from North Carolina, which is fun. And I mentioned earlier how we're all about the data here. We have three buyers and 10 renters in that audience, with almost $1 million worth of real estate purchased in that buyer audience and about $10,000 of monthly rent being paid in that renter's audience, which this is what we would expect, especially for first year programs is, and people moving from so far away is often movers relocate and rent in their first year so that they can get comfortable with the area, learn the neighborhoods, and understand where they would want to buy. And then typically on the year of their lease ending or their rental agreement ending, our partners will make deliberate connections to local realtors to help like ease them into that buyer market. And here is just another example to kind of point back to the importance of building a robust programming is Hutchinson is one of the communities covered by this Home in the Heartland grant. And they've put together quite a robust package, again, to attract, but also retain the movers that they secure. They have this fun welcome gift where you get they're going to bring you a homemade casserole, but it's also in a dish from a local business. And so when we met with them to talk about like what is uniquely Hutchinson, they were talking about how robust the casserole culture is. And so we were like, let's bring your new movers a casserole. Like let's put action to those words. And so that's part of their incentive package. A coffee chat with Hutchinson leaders, again, integrating, helping people understand the who's who of a place, and this foodie passport experience. There's been some fun restaurants open in Hutchinson, and they have a lot of like pride in the food scene there. And so they're doing like a passport where you can indicate that you're a mover with Make My Move and go to these different restaurants and have these different experiences and discounts, which is a fun way to present something to their audience. So they've had success so far, and excited to see it keep rolling. The last slide here is our all-time Kansas results. So we talked about our Lincoln effort, the Innovation Center effort, and now the Home in the Heartland grant work to date. That all of that has resulted so far in 43 households to the state, an average income of $96,000 across that group, an average age of 39, about a third of them having no prior connection to the state, and some exposure metrics there on the bottom. There's been a lot of Kansas representation on Make My Move. And since those early days with Kelly, we've generated just under 9,000 applicants to these Kansas programs. So 9,000 people saying, like, I'm interested in moving to Kansas and I want to see if I qualify, as well as 6.7 million impressions on Make My Move. So these programs have been seen in our marketplace that many times. I also sort of as a maybe wrapping point before we go into questions, wanted to call out, we've talked a lot about like remote versus in person. I would be asking like, what kind of local jobs are these in-person movers occupying? It's really run the gamut, but some like high value roles that are helping to be filled. For example, we've relocated a few nurses. Somebody moved and took a role as in public radio at a local university. Several advanced manufacturing roles like production managers and technicians, as well as a couple people that have relocated to help manage local businesses. One was a hardware store, one was more retail. So really, we're seeing a nice mix of like healthcare, advanced manufacturing, university support across people moving for these in-person jobs. So we've loved working in Kansas. Again, we've had some sort of a presence here since 2022, and it's been really exciting to see it grow and see the sort of excitement and determination to kind of find these new movers from our partners. And we're excited to see even more activity developing as we turn the corner into move season. About 80% of movers that relocate through Make My Move move between March and October. So we're just hitting the stride of move season right now, and are seeing some really great developing momentum in our Home in the Heartland partners. So excited for all that's to come. Um, I'll pause there and see if there's any questions from the group. Anything you'd be interested in me expanding on further?
Outstanding. Thank you, Catherine. This is fascinating and really, really exciting to see in Kansas. One thing that struck me as I looked at the data and how it's evolved from the early days with Kelly in Lincoln County. Um, I think on your earlier slide, the average income for the movers was like 64,000, and
Hmm.
then it moved up to to
Yeah.
a higher level, and the most recent data is over 100,000. So that is striking to me. I guess it also is accompanied by a move to a transition to some of the larger communities in our state. Um, so that's an interesting progression, as well as the move to more in-person workers. So very, very interesting trends there.
Yeah, you're exactly right. That's a great point. I think too, as Make My Move has continued to build our own footprint. I mean, we really started growing our mission and our partner base in 2021. I think just we had less kind of name and brand recognition back then. And so as we've kind of sort of carved more of our spot out in this like industry, sort of economic development platform, and seen our site traffic grow. We've also seen like mover volume grow, but also average income grow. As we've just generally gotten more exposure. Which, yeah, you're exactly right. You can see that through and through with the Kansas stats because back in 22, yeah, the average household income was 64. Then with Northwest Kansas, it was 96. And then now, or whoops, yeah, now we're at 96 across like the whole audience of folks we've relocated, and specifically these Home in the Heartland grants is 109. I'll also say I shared on an earlier slide that our average household income across like our whole mover audience is 115. And typically we see programs start to like return to the mean as they have like more mover volume. So with Kelly's program only going for 5 movers, and again, like just generally less exposure in the marketplace, it was like a little bit of a more lower average. But yeah, as we're starting to get into higher numbers here, like 25 movers, 13 movers, we start to see some of those higher incomes come in and pull the average up, which is closer to what we see across the marketplace.
Very good. Hey, we're moving on up here.
Yeah, very true.
um, um, I don't know if the term vetted is the right term to use, but anybody can go online. Anybody can go on a site. The screening process. How does that work, and how can we be assured, confident that these are valid applicants looking at our communities?
Yeah, a great question. There is a thorough multi-step process that our mover support team goes through in our mover recruitment studio to verify like every step of this qualification. So for the Home in the Heartland grant in particular, people need to be moving from outside of Kansas currently. They need to have a household income of at least $55,000. Those are some of the core attributes or the core requirements from the state. But then we also need to verify if you're a remote worker, your current income and employment. And if you're going to take a local job, we need confirmation of that job that you secured. So that often looks like a signed offer letter from the employer that verifies start date and also pay. so that we can confirm that your household will hit that minimum threshold. So for income wise, we are collecting W-2s, pay stubs, tax returns. We also have a third-party integration called Argyle that allows our applicants to directly connect their MakeMyMove profile to their payroll provider. So we are getting like a high fidelity report directly from their employer's payroll provider that says how long they've been employed, what their current address is, what their pay rate is. And so that allows us to confirm one, that they do not live in Kansas right now, and two, they are in fact employed and they make what they said they make. So that's sort of the income piece. And then I mentioned for people seeking a job, we need that employer offer letter. And we oftentimes will call that employer to verify, like, hey, you did give this person an offer, right? Like, you know this person's name, they are starting, they will make what they said they make. So we're kind of checking on the front and back there. Then housing wise, we need to confirm that, okay, they moved to the place, they moved within the boundary that will qualify them for this program. So with that, we're looking at purchase agreements, leases, rental agreements, and verifying the validity of those, that they have all of the signatures, that all of the documentation aligns with what they've told us previously, and that the address is in fact in the community that they said they applied to, and that it is a real place. Like, for example, if it's an apartment complex, oftentimes we'll call and say, like, you are in fact an apartment complex and this unit is being rented, like multiple steps of verification there. And then the last thing too that I'll mention is every mover has to pass a background check as well. And that background check has four prongs to it. There's a federal and national criminal search, a county search, and also a social security number trace. So that if there's any aliases associated with the person, we can also validate that those aliases don't have any flags on their check. So there's multiple steps of verification here, from like income, employment, housing, criminal history, all of that needs to be checked off before the community would ever extend any of the benefits that they have assembled. So that we know that this person is who they said they are, they make what they said they make, they're living where they said they're living, before they receive any of the benefits or any cash is dispersed.
That's really encouraging. That gives us great confidence. And I'm glad you mentioned the piece in Lincoln County about the importance of the schools, especially I think in our most rural areas. And Lincoln County is one of our most rural areas. Just getting students into the school is extremely important for school funding, finance,
Yeah.
and just the viability of the school and therefore the community. So I'm not sure which what the data was on. Oh, there we are, 68 adults and 33 children. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's we really want families, frankly.
Yep. Yeah. It's
Appreciate
our
that.
average. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Ron.
Go ahead.
I was going to say our average household size is around 2.3. So it's common to see families with, a child or multiple. In Kansas's situation, yeah, a third of the total people that have relocated to the state are children. And we have heard that as a theme across a lot of our partners, but Kansas in particular, that the more children we can bring in the schools, the more funding for the schools. Like, this is a really important uh, through line and like value add from these programs. And so that's another thing that we often encourage our partners to consider is, like, if you are trying to appeal to families, how can you build your programming or think about like the way that you engage with your audience or your applicants, that it would appeal to that audience you want to attract. Like, is there a splash pad in town? Or like, I know how expensive club sports or recreation sports can be. We've had several partners that will say, like, free sports registration for your kids, to try to emphasize that, like, we want you here, we want your family here, and your kids will plug in and like have a great time here. So Yes, we hear that a lot, and that's one of our biggest pieces of feedback is like, okay, think about who you want to appeal to. What about your community appeals to that audience, and how can we make that a tangible experience um, for your applicants and your eventual movers?
Appreciate that. Peter, I see you're unmuted. Anything you'd add to any of this?
I just wanted to uh, it, and you may have already covered it with Lincoln County. If you look at their early movers, they had a smaller household size, and so in addition to the upward trend at the more recent movers having higher incomes, they're also larger families, and so I think that's just a testament to everyone in Kansas who's recruiting these people, um, and uh, slightly related to that is also the housing question. Um, if I'm in Fort Worth, Texas, and I'm thinking of moving to Kansas, where would I go to search for available housing? Well, I'd probably go to Zillow or Homes.com, Realtor.com. Um, and one of the things Kelly realized pretty early on is, hey, we do have homes for sale here. We do have homes for rent, but they're not um, the sellers or the landlords aren't putting them online, and so um, and that's not true everywhere, but it certainly wasn't in Lincoln County, um, and connecting, especially for those families, right? I want a house with a yard. Does it have enough bedrooms and bathrooms? That's a really important piece of the move. And so Kelly picked up the phone and made her own database of people who have homes for rent, people who have homes for sale, and makes sure in the mover recruitment studio that the applicants who have checked all the boxes and gone through that verification process, she's making sure to connect them with the local resources that she's found, um, and making sure that the realtors she listed are the realtors that are excited to work with people from out of state. Maybe not all local realtors are used to that or want to. And so it's those little things like that that can really help recruit families.
Appreciate that. Housing, huge issue in our state, along with
Yeah.
childcare and
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
related issues. Um,
It's a, oh, sorry.
Anyone's welcome to submit questions in the chat or unmute and ask a question. Go ahead there, Catherine.
I was just going to say one of the to the childcare point, one of the programs in Kansas right now, it's escaping my mind who it is. It might be Labette County, but they
Yeah.
actually offer like a free week of childcare, which it's a week. A lot of people probably need more than a week, but a week will get you started. You'll get familiar with that like provider and see if it's a good fit for your family. So yes, that's another thing too is I'm often like, is there any chance you can do free childcare? Because I'm sure press would pick up on that, but that's a little bit harder of a sell. And with it being so scarce, it's hard to give a spot for free. But yes, the childcare piece is huge. And to the extent that partners can get creative with opportunities to include that in their package, it's a great addition.
I'm really intrigued by the local creativity. Obviously, there are hard dollars incentives that are offered, but some of those fun little creative things like the eggs in the casserole. Where do I sign? That's just fun
Yeah.
stuff. Fun
Ottawa
stuff.
County, Katie, this is another one of my favorites too, is they are doing like um I think maybe it's like a half bison or something, or maybe it's a
Or
quarter bison.
it's
What you
yeah.
what'd you say, Peter?
Or I was going to say, I think it's a little less than that. That's a lot. That's a lot of meat, but
Yeah. I was like,
the idea is the same.
I'm gonna mess up the volume. I'm not from a place where you sell animals by like the percent of how much it is, like a percent of the
Maybe a
whole.
quarter. maybe a
Yeah.
quarter.
Um, but it's like there's a local bison farm there, and basically it's like we'll give you a freezer of bison. So it's all about, plenty of places can offer a chamber membership or the cash component, but ultimately people are not like moving across the country for $5,000 cash or $6,000 cash. Like moving is expensive. And they want to know that if they make that big jump, that they'll be welcomed and that they're moving to like a fun place they can plug in. And so I totally agree with you. All those fun, unique components that help set these places apart from each other uh, is great.
And I also want to give a shout out to Riley County. Part of their package is uh, I think it's lattes with leadership, right? Um, and one of the things that we hear from remote workers a lot is that they need to try a little harder to find that professional networking, right? That's easy around the water cooler and mentorship. And having those components are so great because in addition to just meeting people in the community, someone again who might be from Texas or Indiana sees that and says, "Oh, you know, I'm going to show up and I'm going to be able to meet kind of the leadership of the community, understand what's really going on, and that gives me that opportunity to plug in." So there's a little bit, especially with those remote workers. How do I network? Well, here you go. Here's the invitation. All you got to do is show up, right? And that takes that sort of doubt of, am I going to move? That really eases that doubt.
What a great idea. And I'm glad Amanda's on. Tip of the hat to what Riley County, our local county, has done. I've sure been pleased with those results. Actually, our local Rotary Club, it wasn't through Make My Move, but there was a remote worker next door to one of our members. He invited him to go to Rotary, and otherwise, that remote worker isn't going to have that network. And so that's an important element. And this is a tangent. Jamie and I have a colleague at the University of Minnesota Extension. One of the things that he encourages is a newcomers dinner. He just for a town given community to host a dinner for those new to the community, just for them to network and to make them feel at home and to help build that support. So that's kind of social capital is very important in our communities, really for all of us, and certainly for newcomers. Really exciting to see what you folks are doing with Make My Move. Are there other states that are considering these kinds of grants too?
Yeah, we have, and Peter may want to chime in here too, but we currently work with the state of Indiana, working on something with the state of Michigan. There's a lot of other communities. We've found that it's most accessible when there's the ability for the state to support. So we've sort of shifted our approach to expanding and supporting other states by like starting with legislative opportunities or appropriations bills that allow communities to access grant funding and do a bit more than they maybe could have if it was just their own local investment. Because not exclusively, but a large majority of communities that partner with Make My Move are smaller. And so between paying for a cash incentive, like staffing the program, paying for the fulfillment and the marketing, it's just more feasible with the state support. So yeah, Indiana actively, but to what extent do you want to anything to add to that, Peter?
I was going to say, I think there's a few, well, more than a few, but compare um, we have state relationships at Indiana, Michigan, Kentucky, Wisconsin. Um, I know I'm blanking on a couple, um, but I think there's two things that Kansas is doing exceptionally well. One is the 80% match that is a tremendous match. Some states only do half, right? So that's great. And then the treasurer's office has done a really good job of, I think the legislation passed in May or June, and um, the Home in the Heartland had a website. It had a grant application. The grant applications were open and closed, and dollars were awarded to those communities very quickly. And so the treasurer's office did a phenomenal job of doing that. And so and that just benefits the communities who are doing the work to recruit new residents. So they did a great job of doing that.
Sure agree. Guys, thank you so much for a terrific presentation. Really great to see, exciting to see how this is progressing in Kansas and the great work you're doing across the country. So thanks and keep up the good work.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you for having us and for the invite to attend. We've really enjoyed partnering with Kansas. From Peter's perspective, with the state has been wonderful to work with, and all of our individual partners on the ground. It's been a joy. And we'll be excited to have more results to share as we really get into the throes of move season.
Yes, moving season is coming fast.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for a
Thank
terrific
you.
Thank you, Ron.
presentation.
Thank you all.
Appreciate you all.
Bye.
Just one quick reminder about next month's Remote Work Wednesday. Debbie Rathod, an engineer, will be speaking to us on April 8 about hybrid work. And so we look forward to that. Again, thanks for joining us. I just want to wish everyone a wonderful Remote Work Wednesday. Thank you, everyone.